Hello viewers, I'm Keegan Owens. It's been a while since I posted. I suspect that any of my 8 subscribers that are possibly watching this video know that I am Keegan Owens, but I'm going to say it anyway. Now, as I record this, today is October 15th in 2020, but that's irrelevant. And I'm going to talk a bit about trees. Now, my 8 subscribers will know everything that I'm going to say about these trees, but I'm going to say it anyway for reasons that will become apparent later. So, birch and maple trees, at least, probably other trees as well, but they're the ones I know, they produce sap in the early spring, specifically for about maybe a week to 2 weeks after the temperature has gone over freezing. Now, this is normal. I know you all know this. Most people know this, but a couple of my viewers who are, I guess, a bit newer might not. So, they do this in the time period that I told you already. Now, an interesting thing happened today, which can only be described as a miracle, and I'm going to tell you about it. So, I was out here in the vast forests, which aren't actually that vast anymore, but my point stands. So I was out here building something, as I do, and I got very, very thirsty because I was out here and forgot to bring any water, which was probably quite stupid of me. But, now I know that birch trees don't produce enough sap to drink at about this time of year, being that it is not, in fact, being October 15th, sorry about that, October 15th, it is not, in fact, the first 2 weeks after the temperature has gone above freezing. But I decided, because I was thirsty, that I would cut open a birch tree just to see what happened. And, lo and behold, there was nothing to drink, as to be expected. Now, I was really quite incredibly thirsty and didn't feel like walking all the way back to the house. And, something occurred to me. It occurred to me that we are, in fact, children of God. Now, being children of God, we can, in fact, ask God for things. It shouldn't be our only method of communication with Him. We should, in fact, say other things other than that, but it is something that we can do. Now, when you are a child of someone, you do have certain rights and privileges. For example, the president is a very important man. But, on any occasion, if he has a daughter, that daughter can ask him to get her water. That's the example I've been given. Presumably, most of the time, if it were my own daughter, certainly I'd say, but the water is just over there. Why don't you get it yourself? But I suppose if it were a smaller child, I suppose that would be something normal. So, this thought occurred to me, and I thought to myself, why don't I ask God for water? He can still do miracles. He certainly gave Moses and the children of Israel water when they were in the desert, and the desert is generally quite a dry place. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I will pray, and I will ask God, would you give me some water? And I prayed this. And then I realized that I could be, turning over rocks and tapping things with my staff for a very long time. And I also realized that God generally prefers it if we're more specific. Because He does. I can't explain that, but in general, if you pray for something specific, He will either give it to you or know that you probably shouldn't have it and not give it to you. So anyway, I realized that instead of praying, God give me water, could have ended in a rainstorm. It's actually a very nice sunny day right now. I decided, you know what? There's a birch tree right over there. It's right next to the one that I cut. And I prayed to God, God, make that birch tree produce water. So, I took out my pocket knife, as one does if one wants water from a tree, and I cut the tree. Now, rather than telling you what happened, bear in mind this is October 15th. I know this is the third time I've said it, but bear that in mind. So I'll show you the first tree that I cut, and well, that's it right there. Dry as a bone. Not a drop of water. As there should not be. So, over here, we have another tree. And this is the one that I pointed to. So, I prayed to God, asking for that specific tree to produce water. It did. Now, this tree has no right to produce water. It should not, by any means, produce water. But, in fact, it did produce water. So, that would be what I would call a miracle. So if anyone tells you that God doesn't do miracles anymore, by golly, He does. And I know this is sort of a strange video to make, being one of my first videos after I've come back to YouTube, but someone wanted me to make it, and I decided I had better make it. It's pretty amazing what happened. So I would like to close thusly. If anyone tells you that God doesn't do miracles, remember this. God's still on the throne and prayer changes things. Have a good day, folks.